Hi class, Mrs. Calvi here. Quick review on equivalent fractions. So in order to come up with an equivalent fraction, you are going to either multiply or divide the numerator and denominator by the same number. So if I had 4/6, the easiest operation to do is using multiplication. I always use easy numbers. Make your life easier. Multiply by 2. So if I take 4 and I multiply it by 2, if I multiply the numerator by 2, I have to multiply the denominator by 2. Okay, so 4 times 2 gives me 8, and 8 times 2 gives, or 6 rather, 6 times 2 gives me 12. So then that means 4/6 is equivalent to 8/12. Now I can multiply the numerator and denominator by any number, but it has to be the same number for the numerator and it has to be the same number for the denominator. Now you can also divide, but you have to make sure that the numbers are divisible by that number. So for example, using 4/6, if I wanted to use division, I know that I can divide both by 2 because they're both divisible by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 4/6 is also equivalent to 2/3. Now, you just have to remember when you are dividing, you have to make sure the numerator and the denominator are divisible by that number evenly. That's why it tends to be easier just to use multiplication and use small numbers to make life easy. Okay? So that's all there is to equivalent fractions. There are going to be different types of questions within the assignment, so I want to go over a few different types of examples. So there are going to be questions like this where you have to find out the missing number in the box. So we have to figure out 2/5 is equal to 10 over something, and they have to be equivalent to each other. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to look to see where you have both numbers. Do they give you numbers both in the numerator or both in the denominator? Here, they gave me both numbers in the numerator. So here, I'm going from a smaller number to a larger number. In order to go from a smaller number to a larger number, we always say we're going to either add or multiply. This is always going to be multiplication. So now I have to think about, well, 2 times what number gives me 10? Well, I know that 2 times 5 gives me 10. So if we multiply the numerator by 5, we have to do the same thing to the denominator. So I'm going to multiply that by 5, and 5 times 5 gives me 25. So that means 2/5 is equivalent to 10 25ths. Okay, now let's look at one where we're going from a larger to a smaller. So here I have 12/18 is equal to something over 3. So I'm going to look to see where I have both numbers. So I have both numbers in my denominator here. Here I'm going from a larger number to a smaller number. And we know when we're going from a larger to a smaller, we're either trying subtraction or division, but we're only dividing when we're talking equivalent fractions. So I know I'm going to have to divide here. So I have to say to myself, well, 18 divided by what number gives me 3? Or 3 times what gives me 18? And I know that that is 6. So if I divide the denominator by 6, I must divide the numerator by 6. So now I need to say 12 divided by 6 equals what? Or 6 times what equals 12? And I know that that is 2. So here, 12/18 is equivalent to 2/3. One last thing I want to go over is simplifying fractions. Now we've been doing this since the beginning of the year, so you should know how to do this. I want to simplify 2/8. In order for me to be able to simplify this, I have to be able to divide both the numerator and the denominator by the same number. Okay, so I'm looking at, well, 2 and 8, they're both even. So we know from our divisibility rules, I know that, well, if they're both even, I can cut them in half, which means divide by 2. So let's do that. 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. So my simplified answer for this one is 1/4. Now here, I got to the simplified answer right away just by dividing once. Sometimes, depending on what number you're dividing by, it might take you a few times of simplifying down. So let's do another one. So this is a good example. So 6/30. Well, again, I know that 6 and 30 are both even. I know I can divide by 2. So let's go and divide by 2. Whatever we do to the numerator, we do to the denominator. So I'm going to cut 6 in half. That would give me 3. And I'm going to cut 30 in half. Half of 30, or 30 divided by 2, gives me 15. Now, because I used 2, unfortunately, 3/15 is not my simplified answer. I can still simplify this down because both 3 and 15 are divisible by 3. These meet the 3 rules. So 3 divided by 3 is equal to 1, and 15 divided by 3 is equal to 5. Now, if I would have right from the get-go, right from the beginning, instead of dividing by 2, I could have realized that both 6 and 30 are divisible by 6. So if I did that right away, I would have come down to my simplified answer sooner. It doesn't matter which one you do. As long as you get to your simplified answer, it may take you a little longer if you're not dividing by the largest number they have in common. All right? That is it for today, and I will talk to you guys soon.